Well, I think, Anita, we can get started. Good
Okay,
evening and late afternoon to everybody.
so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. So Erica, while you're presenting, I'll keep letting people in, and we'll do
Great,
vice versa when we switch.
great. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, welcome everyone. It's wonderful to see everybody. We had a nice group show up earlier today as well. One thing I should say as we get started, we are recording and we'll make this recording available to everybody after the session. So if you have questions, we'll also have information that we'll share with you. All right. Well, welcome. We are so excited to be here today and to share with you about our Ministry Institute and our new course that we've created, the Pastoral Care Foundations Course. And we're really excited that you're here to learn more. So today it'll be Anita and I. So I am Erica Cohen-Moore, the Executive Director for the National Association of Catholic Chaplains. I see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd today and some new faces, so welcome. And then we have Anita Houghton, who is our Director of Pastoral Care and Certification. And then he's driving, but we also have Wade West with us, who was our production team person and who really helped us create this program and bring it to life. So with that, I think I have introduced all of staff, so we'll get started.
Okay. So you're up first, Erica.
Okay. So just general overview of NACC. I know a lot of you are familiar with us, but some of you are new. So NACC, our mission is to promote the dignity of the human person by cultivating excellence in spiritual care through education, certification, and professional support for chaplains and pastoral care providers. NACC, we have a history. We just turned 60 in 2025, so we were excited to celebrate our anniversary. And within our history really has been mostly healthcare chaplains and certification. And we're really growing beyond that, trying to serve chaplaincy and pastoral care ministry in all different fields. But NECC envisions a world where every person has access to compassionate, high quality pastoral care. The NACC maintains an important ecclesial relationship with the USCCB. Bishop Haynes is our ecclesial liaison and wonderful. The NACC is recognized as a recognized Catholic organization that works in collaboration with the bishops to serve the church's ministry of pastoral and spiritual care. So now we're going to begin with a prayer, and then we will move into our presentation. So just coming into this space in the evening, a lot of us are coming from maybe work or a day's event. Some of you, it still might be working hours. I know it is for me on the West Coast. Some of you are past dinner. So come into this space together. Gracious and loving God, you are the source of all compassion and the healer of every heart. As we gather today, we ask you to be present among us. Open our hearts to the needs of those who suffer and awaken in us a deeper call to accompany others with care and dignity. Bless our time together, that it may be guided by your Spirit, rooted in your love, and directed toward service of your people. We entrust this time to you through Christ our Lord. Amen. Great. Well, today we're together for an hour. We hope to get through the presentation within about a half hour, so we have time for you to ask questions of us. But please feel free during our presentation to put your questions in the chat room, and we'll be sure to get to them. So today we'll talk about what is the Pastoral Care Foundations course? Who is our audience? What makes this course different? Why does this course matter? What is the course and module structure? And what topics are covered in this course? And what is the cost of the course? and how can the course serve your local needs? So now I'm going to hand it over to Anita, and she's going to introduce us to Betty.
Okay. We wanted to begin this presentation with a story. So I'd like you to meet Betty Smith. Betty's a lifelong Catholic. She attends daily Mass. She serves as a Eucharistic minister and has a deep love for her parish. After caring for her family, she feels a desire to give back. When her pastor mentions the need for homebound ministers, Betty volunteers. Her first visit is to Ellen. Ellen is 86 years old. Just a few weeks ago, her husband died. For decades, he was her connection to the parish, the one who drove them to Mass and helped her feel part of the community. Now, Ellen sits alone in her home, overwhelmed with grief. Betty arrives a bit nervous but eager to serve. She greets Ellen warmly and begins talking right away. She says things like, "At least he lived a long time, and you'll feel better with time." Wanting to be helpful, Betty begins to share stories about her own losses. When Ellen grows quiet and tearful, Betty becomes uncomfortable with the silence and quickly fills it, offering advice about staying busy and keeping a positive attitude. Before leaving, Betty distributes the Eucharist and says, "I pray that you feel better soon." Betty leaves like she has done something kind, but Ellen remains sitting in her chair, still grieving, still alone, and perhaps now feeling unseen in her pain. With a little formation, Betty's encounter with Ellen could have had a more positive outcome. Imagine the conversation going something like this. Betty begins with a moment of quiet. She says, "Ellen, I'm so sorry for your loss. Would you like to tell me about your husband?" Ellen begins to speak, slowly at first, then with more depth. She shares stories, memories, and the ache of his absence. When Ellen becomes quiet, Betty resists the urge to fix or explain. Betty remains present, attentive, calm, and compassionate, allowing the silence to hold what words cannot. When appropriate, Betty said something like, "It sounds like he was such an important part of your life. This feels very heavy right now." Ellen nods. She feels heard. Betty does not shift the focus to herself. She does not offer platitudes or try to move Ellen past her grief. Instead, she honors it. After some time, Betty asks, "Would you like to receive communion today?" They prepare together in a spirit of reverence. The Eucharist is shared not as a routine task, but as a moment of connection to Christ and to the church Ellen feels she has lost. Before leaving, Betty says, "Thank you for sharing your heart with me today. I will keep you in my prayers and I look forward to being with you again." Betty leaves quietly. Ellen remains in her chair, but something has shifted. She's still grieving, but she's not as alone. She has been seen and understood. So the difference between scenario one and scenario two is not Betty's intention, it's her formation. Today, there's no shortage of people who are hurting. Who's there to accompany them? And are they prepared? This is why we developed the Pastoral Care Foundations course.
Great. So, what is the Pastoral Care Foundations course? The Pastoral Care Foundation course exists to form pastoral care ministers for the sacred work of accompaniment. Across parishes, healthcare settings, correctional institutions, and Catholic organizations, pastoral care is often entrusted to generous volunteers who are deeply committed, but frequently lack pastoral ministry skills. This program offers essential formation to equip individuals to serve with compassion, ethical integrity, and confidence, while upholding the dignity of every person they encounter. Who is our audience? Well, all of you. And I must say, it's fun to see that we have people from Apostleship of the Sea, hospice, parishes. I think I saw a airport chaplain. So this course is designed specifically for pastoral care and lay ecclesial ministers, hospital volunteers and chaplains, correctional ministers, parish nurses, medical staff, clergy, pre and post ordination, deacons' wives, law enforcement chaplains, port maritime ministers, and anybody who's working in ministry and accompanying people. This is for you. It doesn't have limitations. No prior theological formation required. No prior pastoral care formation required. Student wants to be equipped to serve in a pastoral care capacity. And there's a lot of organizations that might be interested, like Knights of Columbus. I think I saw somebody works in the funeral industry, so Catholic cemeteries, Catholic charities, it, homeless shelters, if you're working with human trafficking. It's robust and available to anybody. And what makes this course different? The Pastoral Care Foundations course is not merely academic. It is experiential, because we all know on this call how important it is to just be with somebody, whether they're a moment of happiness, a moment of grief, a moment of despair. It's just being present to people. So it provides a theological foundation for ministry in the context of pastoral care. Students also receive practical skills for ministering effectively across a variety of settings and situations.
So many of us are familiar with what a Catholic college or a Catholic seminary can offer, right? Theological and spiritual formation for clergy and professional lay ecclesial ministers. On the other end of the spectrum, we have clinical pastoral education. So for all of our chaplains who are on this call, you know what that is. For those of you who may not be familiar with it, it's an intensive clinical training for professional chaplains who serve in complex healthcare and institutional settings. But what about the volunteers and frontline ministers? Where, people who will never set foot in a college seminary, a Catholic seminary or a Catholic college. They could be people who never even think or know what clinical pastoral education is. So where do they receive their formation? And this is why we feel that the Pastoral Care Foundations course bridges the gap. So what we did was we took a little bit of Catholic theology and a little bit of pastoral ministry skills that you would learn in a level 1 CPE, and we put them together in a very basic foundational course. So why does it matter? Well, when pastoral ministers are well formed, individuals receive higher quality, more compassionate care. Pastoral care ministers serve with greater confidence and clarity, but institutions reduce the risk by sending trained ministers who understand their role and stay within their appropriate boundaries during pastoral encounters. I don't know if you've ever worked in a situation where you were a ministry leader working with volunteers or other people, and you were had reservations about sending someone out to visit someone. Are they going to say the right things? Am I going to get that phone call from somebody complaining about somebody who crossed a boundary or didn't behave in an appropriate manner in a pastoral setting? So we really believe that this course will give a lot of confidence to ministry leaders because they will be well formed. And so then ministries will become more consistent, sustainable, reliable, and then in the end, the church's mission of mercy is strengthened. So let's talk a little bit about the course structure. It's a fully online course and it's self-paced. So we've had a number of people ask, well, do I have a deadline to complete this course? And the answer is no. Once you register for the course, you can take as long as you want to finish it. So that's a nice option to have. It's developed with accessible language and clear instruction. It includes many different types of learning activities, reflection, case studies, and practical application. The online modules total 30 hours of course instruction. Then after the online piece is done, there's a 20-hour mentored practicum. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And it's suitable for individuals and for group instruction. So we know that there are many rural and underserved areas that don't have access to formation. So an online training program like this is great because they might not have anywhere to go to be trained, and their parish staff might not have the resources to do it, and their archdiocese might not have the resources to do it. But it's also great for a cohort, group instruction. Right now, we have a group from the Archdiocese of Seattle, 20 or so pastoral care ministers who are in a program, and they're using this course to be equipped for pastoral care. So each of them are going through the course individually, and they meet monthly to be able to unpack what they've learned and have discussion. So let's talk a little bit about the course topics. I think this course you'll find to be unique in course offerings that you might be used to. These pictures here are from our studio. Wade West, who is on this call with us, is the head of Westwards Consulting, who is our communications arm. They have produced this whole course for us. He built a film studio basically from scratch. You should see the before and after pictures. It was an amazing transformation. And so we created this environment where we built a film studio. You see here a picture of Bishop Jeffrey Haynes, who's our Episcopal liaison, several of our chaplains, and Erica did a module for us as well. We incorporated in with the blue background. Those were all the testimonies of some of our chaplains. We tried to incorporate testimonies of how they would deal with a certain pastoral care scenario, so that our students could hear a perspective on it and just learn from their experiences. So the first few modules, the first one is just an introductory module, a path to the course completion, and we've created a fillable PDF digital workbook. The student downloads that to their local computer and uses that in the course of the program. Pastoral Care 101 is a module that helps the student understand what pastoral care is and what it is not. Pastoral care is not the same as spiritual direction. You're not a psychotherapist, and you're not a pastoral counselor. We want to make sure that the volunteer stays in their lane, that they know their boundaries, that there's a distinction between these ministries. And so Erica actually presented this course and did a great job comparing them to one another. Module number 2 is about gifts for ministry. We got permission from the Catherine of Siena Institute to incorporate some of the called and gifted workshop materials in here. Some of you may be familiar with that. Sherry Waddell, who founded the Institute, does a whole thing on spiritual gifts and charisms for ministry. And so we summarized this in our module 2, and actually did a little survey where people can discern their gifts. You know that pastoral care is a different kind of ministry than evangelization or catechesis. Its aim is presence, not conversion. And so we know that people have certain gifts for some ministries and not others. And so we want to make sure that the volunteers and the people who are taking this course hone in on what their gifts are so they can use them to the best of their ability. Our next set of modules are our Catholic faith modules. We know that our brothers and sisters in Christ have not all been formed well in the Catholic faith. And so we want to make sure that when we are sending people out into the field, even as volunteers or homebound ministers, that they are firmly rooted in their faith. This course flows from Co-workers in the Vineyard of the Lord, a document from the USCCB. It's based on the 4 pillars of formation, and it abides by that. And so this Catholic theology module flows from that. One thing I want to point out is that these topics, they're not just a regurgitation of the catechism. They're taught in the context of pastoral care. So, for example, module number 4 goes through all 7 sacraments, but we talk about them in light of pastoral care. For example, we get a lot of questions surrounding the sacraments when people are sick. My uncle John is in hospice. Can he be anointed? He's not Catholic. Can he be anointed? We answer questions like that. What is viaticum? When is it appropriate to call a priest? We know that a lot of our young adults who may have parents or grandparents who are reaching end of life, they might not even know what anointing of the sick is. So we want to make sure that as volunteers and as pastoral care ministers, we bring that to their attention. In Module 5, we survey the various spiritualities of the Catholic Church, Franciscan, Dominican, Marian, Charismatic, but we also help the student learn how to discern the spirituality of the person they're ministering to. We want to make sure that it's not only about them, it's being um, sensitive to the person's spirituality so that they can provide proper pastoral care. Module number 6 is just a basic overview of Catholic morality and the ethical and religious directives of the USCCB. Again, we make it very clear that as a volunteer, you're not going to be helping families making end-of-life decisions for their loved ones. But you should be aware as a volunteer that this document exists, and you should know when you should call somebody who's trained to provide that kind of guidance. So we're exposing the student to a lot of different things. Module 7 provides the basis of pastoral care through our Catholic social teaching. And Module 8 is presented by Bishop Haynes. And this is two things. One is it's a survey of contemporary issues facing the church. As you know, if you worked in ministry, a lot of people have various opinions about the Catholic Church. You might be faced with anger, and you as the representative need to know how to handle that. He does a beautiful job on encouraging the student to listen, to be loving, and they don't have the responsibility of fixing the problems of the church. This module also explains what the magisterium is, that the church has church documents. They weigh in on issues. Some people might not even know that there's a Vatican website with all of these different resources available to them. The skills modules now are the practical side of the training. So here are some skills topics that you might find in a level 1 CPE. Pastoral communication, how to be an active listener, how to watch somebody's body language, how to be comfortable with silence, how to draw more out of the person to be able to speak up. Module 10 is about all the difficult things that we face in life. How to minister to somebody who's grieving, who's experienced trauma, aging, memory loss, addiction, ministering to the dying. It's a pretty heavy topic, but it helps the student be prepared to walk into situations and have just a little bit of background on how to handle things. Topic 11 is about professional and ministerial boundaries. We send Betty out to be a homebound volunteer. She may not realize that it's okay to set boundaries. What if the person she's ministering to asks her for money? So it asks her to start running errands for them. And she might feel uncomfortable saying no. When is it okay to say no? We cover these types of topics in this module. Module 12 surveys the history of the safe environments policies in the Catholic Church, how they evolved, why they're important, and why it's important to maintain those safe environments and in your pastoral care setting. We also go over HIPAA privacy issues. Imagine Betty going to the hospital to visit one of the parishioners, and she comes running back to the church and tells everything she learned about the parishioner's diagnosis and the surgery that's coming up. And her intent is to put him on the prayer list, but she's, if she shares things that she's not supposed to share, she's violating HIPAA, and she's violating that person's privacy. And, I don't know about you, but like I can think of many parish volunteers that I've worked with. They would have no idea that they're doing something wrong. And so we want to make sure that they're aware of that. We know that many ministry environments aren't only Catholic, so we expose the student to other faith traditions. We provide resources for them for that. We know that a lot of Catholics are not comfortable praying with people, So we have a module on how to pray in a pastoral care setting. How do you pray one-on-one with somebody? How do you pray, how do you lead a group in prayer? How do you organize a prayer service? We've got some great resources in this module to help them feel comfortable doing that. And then as we conclude, we have a capstone module that brings everything together. How to conduct a pastoral care visit. We review everything that's been discussed in the context of how to prepare for a visit, how to conduct a visit, and then how to reflect on the visit. When the student is all done with the 15 modules, then we offer a 20-hour practicum. And the way this works is that the student is able to pick a ministry of their choice in their local area. We connect them with a board certified chaplain who's been trained as a mentor for this program, and we connect them together. And the mentor helps them through their practicum. At the very end, they have a one-on-one Zoom meeting where the mentor reviews the digital workbook that they've completed, reviews some reflection sheets that they've done through their practicum, and then they have a capstone visit. And it's not an examination; it's more of an affirmation and a send-off. And maybe an opportunity to share thoughts and reflections, but also to pray together and to help them start their journey as a pastoral care minister. And here's a look at the module structure. We've structured all the modules in a similar fashion. We have an introduction, an opening prayer, and then a series of videos. The number of videos depends on the module. The videos are 10 to 15 minutes, small chunks, not long lectures. They're pretty engaging. We've incorporated photos and B-roll and slides, so it's not just a talking head. And after each video, there's a corresponding activity to unpack what they've learned. The whole program is packaged in a learning management system. We've put a certificate path together that links all the modules together. You take them all one by one sequentially. And then we know that some people who will be taking it individually might need an opportunity to discuss it with other people who've taken the course. And so we'll be offering webinars throughout the year for people who've completed the first half of the course, the theology modules, so they can get together and talk about what they've learned. Similarly for the skills modules. When it's all done and the mentor meeting is finished, the person earns a certificate. Now, the NACC offers chaplaincy certification, but this is not the same thing because professional certification involves graduate theological education, clinical pastoral education, and a grueling certification process that I get to head up. So it is a very rigorous process. But this is a certificate of completion, and it is a credential of sorts, but not the same as certification. So we want, and as this program grows, we hope that this certificate is recognized as a quality formation program for this audience. So this program is, for some individuals, it'll be a complete foundation for volunteer service. For others, it may serve as preparation for advanced parish ministry roles, chaplaincy discernment. And it could serve as additional pastoral or theological education. So I spoke with one director, a deacon director in the Diocese of Jefferson City, and he said he wants all of his deacons to go through it as a refresher. But we've also talked with a lot of formation programs where they want to use parts of our curriculum to supplement the work that they're doing. So it's great for continuing education and refresher. So, we know that after COVID, a lot of diocesan staffs were cut, parish staffs had to reduce, a lot of resources were drained from the church. And so we know that this kind of formation may not be available to people. And dioceses and parishes might not have the resources to build something like this. So we don't want them to reinvent the wheel. We want to be the hub of pastoral care formation. So we created a centralized formation resource, and we hope to promote this in not only parishes, but dioceses and in the hospital systems, correctional institutions, wherever pastoral care is provided. So we asked our Episcopal liaison, Bishop Jeff Haynes, what would you want your brother bishops to know about this course? And so this is just a minute response, but I think you'll find his response interesting.
Well, I'd like to really encourage my brother bishops to really explore into this Pastoral Care Foundations course, because it provides a real blessing to the church at this time. I think my brother bishops know that there are an explosion of care facilities out there nowadays, especially as the society ages, and yet a lot of those don't have chaplains anymore, not hired full-time or even part-time. And so that weight falls on the parish. And so parishes need to have people to help the priest in providing that ministry. So this kind of course allows the people to be formed and trained in the right way. And that also leads to the second point I would say to the brother bishops, is that this is a kind of course that's rather comprehensive, and it will provide the proper level of skill that really a pastoral care minister needs. That's sometimes very sensitive ministry, and this kind of formal training will actually empower these lay people to give the quality of care that our people, our parishioners need.
Okay, so we're almost finished here. I just wanted to have a few more slides here of the program. So if an individual went through the program, it's $595 per person. That includes the 30 hours of online formation and the 20-hour practicum. If you have a cohort of people, like the Archdiocese of Seattle, for example, you can get a discount of $100 per person for a group of 11 or more. We also recognize we've been approached by some Catholic hospital systems that would like to provide the theological modules to some of their non-Catholic staff. So there's chaplains who are working in a Catholic system to a largely Catholic audience, and maybe even healthcare professionals. So we are packaging just the theology modules and offering them by themselves without a practicum. So the cost for that is listed below, $300 per person for an individual. And if you have a cohort, there's a discount. Conversely, we might have some groups, for example, diaconal formation programs that already provide theological formation for their deacon candidates, but they don't have any pastoral care training. And so we've been approached by several dioceses that for just providing the skills modules. And so though that pricing is similar. So this configuration assumes that each student has an individual login and completes the modules independently. And so once you have a login, I think this is important to note, once you have a login, these modules stay in your learning center indefinitely. You can always go back and access them. The resources that are there, worksheets, prayer resources. You can watch the videos again. You don't have to pay again. So this gives you kind of enduring access to this curriculum. However, there's some groups that have been interested in institutional licensing. So the way that works is that they would get access to the curriculum, and we would give them one institutional login for administrative use. And that scenario would play out like, let's just say, like in the picture, you have a group of people that are meeting live in person, and the instructor has access to the videos and can show them to the whole group and then facilitate discussion. So in this case, the institution assumes full responsibility for facilitating the course, providing discussion components, providing mentors, and overseeing a practicum if they want that. And they would be granting the credential or certificate. It would not be an NACC certificate of completion. And so this pricing is based on a number of students. So if that's something that you're interested in, let us know, and we can share that pricing with you. So this is my last slide. What's the next step? If you're interested in learning more about the Pastoral Care Foundations course, You can go to the website. It's the same one where you registered for this webinar. There's a lot of little things that you can click on there. There's a promo video. There's actually the very first video for the Pastoral Care 101 course as a sample. There's a program overview that describes each of the topics. That one's at the bottom. You can just download that as a PDF. If you're ready to register for the course, you can go to that same webpage and register. And then there's instructions on how to register and provide your payment. We had one person register immediately after the afternoon session, so that was great to see. And then if you have any questions about, creating a package for your institution, if you have questions about the practicum or, the curriculum, Erica and I are happy to answer your questions. And so I was at the National Association of Deacon Directors Conference last week in Fort Worth, Texas. I shared this with a lot of people. There seems to be a lot of excitement generated from the course. And I can tell you that I've worked for a long time in ministry. I've done a lot of projects, but never had a project that's brought me more satisfaction than working on this course. So I hope you feel the love and the passion that we have as an NACC for providing this care. Our speakers and our presenters all have that same fire and passion for growing the healing ministry of Christ out into the world. So as we wrap up, we'll certainly take your questions. Just something for you to ponder. Where do you see the need for pastoral care formation in your local area? And how can this course equip ministers to meet these needs? So I'm going to stop sharing so that I can look at the questions that you've posted. And Erica, would you like to facilitate the first round of questions here?
Sure. Thank you, Anita. That was a lot of wonderful information. So now we're just going to jump and answer any of your questions. We can take down the PowerPoint so we can see all your faces.
I am locked up here. So I might have to log back in. It's going to close Zoom on me, but Erica's still here and we won't lose you all. So if I'm gone, I'll be right back.
Okay. Thanks, Anita. So let me know if you have questions. You can put them in the chat room. I can't see everybody. So if you have a question, you can even just unmute and ask it.
Hey, Erica, this is Deacon Dwayne.
Hi, Erica.
Hi, Deacon Dwayne. How are you?
Good. Hey, question. How long are each of the modules? I'm sure there's a little bit, you said how long the videos were, but how long do you think a typical person should take to get through a module when you consider the work they have to do, in the workbooks and things?
Yeah, great question. And Anita and Wade, they both worked on it, but I would say our longest module is about 3 hours. Our shortest is a little under 2. And then there's workbook. And so it depends on the person's pace. But Anita, if you want to jump into.
Yeah, so we have one module that's almost 3 hours. We have one module that's an hour. So those two balance each other out. Module 3, Divine Revelation and the Creed, is our longest module. But it's broken up into chunks. So it's not, we don't want the student to, get bored and zone out. But overall, it truly is about 30 hours of instruction. We've considered the video times as well as activities. So if somebody's is quicker in turning things around, it might be a little less.
Yeah, thank you. Another question, would this be good for a grief support facilitator? It would be excellent for a grief support facilitator. It would really give you the tools needed to help navigate a group. How do you work with a group? What are the right things to say? How do you feel comfortable in that space? So absolutely. Available in other languages, great question. We are aggressively right now going after grants to bring this to everybody in Spanish. I wish I could say we'd have it ready for you within the year, but we're working on it because we know there's a profound need. I know there was Victoria.
Yeah, I have a question. I am very interested in this course because I think it's really helpful because I do have to work with deacon and I work with Eucharist minister, and we in the volunteer, but we work with hospital. So I'm interested in like the group that you have, like meet in person and train. Um, but I don't know the cost because this is something that I will write to the diocese because I work under the diocese, and I think it's really benefit. So I don't know if there's any material that I can print back and then share with my director, and see if it's this good cost because like I have about 7 people that work in my team that we will be able to put it together a big group to learn together.
Yeah, great question. And I'll start by saying, when we started this program, we had to figure out how to do this program the best way nationally, because we wanted to make sure it was available to anyone and everyone, whether it's a big group in a diocese or an independent person. And so we started with it as an asynchronous program, and that's how it's designed right now. With that said, though, we are working on tools to make it so it can be synchronous, and we can make it accessible to you in that format. And Anita, I'll let you continue that one.
Yeah, so we have 3 tiers of pricing for the institutional license. And so I don't have that pricing in front of me now, but we do have a sheet. So Victoria, if you want to email me,
Mhm.
my email is certification@nacc.org. Very
Yeah, I have
easy.
emailed you before, so I can
Okay,
put you.
great. Yeah. Yeah. So, and then I will share that information with you and then we can talk about it.
All right, thank you.
Sure.
And somebody asked if we are sending this to dioceses. Yes, we are going to do an appeal to bishops. But right now, we're just doing kind of this initial launch with organizations, especially organizations that we're familiar with. But our hope is to get this in front of the bishops quickly.
Yeah. So if you are a board certified chaplain and you want to use this for continuing education, absolutely, you can use that. So you could do it without the practicum and just register for the theological modules. So we are just packaging that up now. Right now, if you go to our course catalog, it's just the Pastoral Care Foundations course. Give us a couple of weeks and it'll be up there. We wanted to, we it was when we first launched the course, we weren't anticipating all the different types of configurations that people were interested in. So now we have a good handle on it and we can definitely provide it. So it'll be out there soon. And if you're interested in being a mentor, for those of you who are certified chaplains with the NACC, if you're interested in being one of those mentors, email me and I will happily bring you into the fold. One of my greatest fears is that we'll have more students than mentors because we're just getting rolling. But no worries, we're going to get there. I trust God's going to provide all the resources for us. There's a question from Father Francis. What would you suggest for sharing this with lay leaders? I think a great way to invite lay leaders into this is at the parish level. There are many ministry locations that you could invite anybody who's on staff at that ministry to participate. But what I think probably the toughest challenge, the toughest groups for us to reach are the pastors, because we don't have an email list of all the pastors of the United States. We do have contact with the bishops, and then we would have to rely on them cascading information down the chain. And as you've worked in the church, you know that doesn't always happen. So,
I thought
so
we have the unified website that you can like have the short team and short it on all the parish belong to the diocese, and we can get the pastor list quickly that way.
Okay, well, email me that information. If you have a way to get to the pastors, we'd be happy to do it. But we're relying on word of mouth and our membership. I mean, we have 1,600 members nationwide, and so everybody belongs to a parish, and that's a really good start. So we really want
I
to
have a
encourage that.
question, like since you're talking about that, because I saw during your presentation, I saw like the little star on the bottom say like sponsorship, and I
Mhm.
I, I am like kind of more of like into partnership, because like when we do a dynasty, and I think this would way for like partner up on like expertise, like some area they have a good like something that they can like partner up with you guys, And I think that's one
Yeah.
of the way like partnership and sponsorship. I want to know a little bit about that if you don't mind to share.
Sh- Sure. What I can do is maybe back up a little bit and tell the story of this program and how it came to be. So all of you are sitting here because you're engaged with pastoral care in some way. And some of you have been introduced and have had wonderful resources, and some of you haven't. And pastoral care has been a place where, in a lot of our dioceses, there's kind of a gaping hole. And so NACC really wanted to step into this space because we have this incredible talented group of people. We have 1,600 members who have these incredible backgrounds, whether it's working in law enforcement or prisons or hospitals. And we said, how can we help parishes? How can we help dioceses, Knights of Columbus, hospitals fill a hole that a lot of us have been looking like, where do we go train people? And so that's really where this came to be. But we had to start from scratch. So Victoria, to answer your question, the sponsorships are really, they were our donors. That's the sponsors were our donors. We went out and we were able to get money from a lot of our religious sisters, because we went to them to say, even though religious sisters are the numbers are getting smaller throughout the country, they were really the ones that lifted up NACC 60 years ago, priests and sisters. And we want to continue their charism forward. And so a way to do that is they've been really generous at supporting us and producing this, because there's a cost to producing this program. So that's where the sponsorships came in from. I would say moving forward, this is just a beginning. We wanted to create a very base level pastoral care foundations course for everybody so they can get their foot in the door, get their toe dipped in the water, and get experience. Some people will find that, wow, that's a great experience, and I feel like I'm equipped to go do what I need to do, whether it's be a grief ministry leader, go do ministry on the ships or cruise ships, whatever it is, we want people to feel equipped. But our hope with this is that this is part of the NACC Ministry Institute. There's a much bigger institute that this falls within, where we'll have webinars, but we're also looking, we've actually just received a grant so we can build this. And so it won't just be Pastoral Foundations course. We want to continue to grow people. So we just got a grant to build 3 modules with mental health, 3 modules on hospice and palliative care. We want to go out and we want to build this in Spanish, but we want this to grow. We want people to come to this and engage in this institute. So, like, let's say you're a grief ministry, a grief minister, you lead a group. Eventually, we want to have resources available to you that would say, this is how you lead a group step by step. So you can go somewhere. Because again, some of you have dioceses with really robust resources, and some of you don't. So that's a very long explanation to where the sponsors came from. But this came out of a story of really wanting to be kind of a hub for pastoral care because we have the talent to do it and to be able to address all of your needs. To go back to what Anita said in her presentation, we want to make sure that people feel comfortable stepping into a space, that they've discerned the right ministry, that they're not actually going to cause more damage than good. And so we hope that this program does that. And I say that in the nicest way, and I think everybody on this call understands what I'm saying. So
Yeah, I would like to answer a question that Father Francis posted in the chat. How does this program compare to the program in Galveston, Houston? It's a very interesting question because when we first, the NACC received a grant in 2016 to develop what's called Partners in Pastoral Care. And we got pastoral care professionals from all over the country, including the USCCB, to develop what we thought pastoral competencies for pastoral care ministry. And so what came out of that project, several years worth of meetings and they unpacked coworkers in the vineyard, and they came up with the competencies for 3 particular ministries: hospital volunteers, elder care, and prison ministry. And so all 3 of those areas took those competencies, and people went and developed programs. And the Archdiocese of Galveston, Houston, created their training program based on that project, our project. But the vision was always to launch this as a national initiative. And so we started there. We looked at what Galveston, Houston was doing, but we thought it could be much more. Interestingly, I was in Texas last week, and I met with the director of that program, and they actually want to use our curriculum for that program. So, especially in the theological modules, because they don't have that as part of their curriculum. So, it's very exciting and how it all came together. So we built on their shoulders. Now they're going to build on our shoulders, and it's a beautiful thing, the synergy that's there. Um, a couple people texted about being mentors. So if you want to be a mentor, email me individually, and I did a little webinar for our future mentors, and so I will send you that so you can watch that, discern whether you want to do that, and then we can take it from there. That webinar talks about the time required and what would be expected of you and whatnot. In terms of picking a mentor for the practicum, so when our trainees finish their training period, and the first thing they do is take the course so that they know what our students are taking, I put them on a list, and that list becomes available to the students. And so they pick a mentor. And then there's a checklist of what you need to do once your mentorship starts. We provide all the documents and the templates that they need to fill out. But essentially, the student picks their own place of ministry to choose where they're going to do their 20 hours.
So another question is, how does this course tie into CPE? Great question. So this is actually separate from CPE. This isn't, because I know there's a lot of programs starting throughout the country like CPE Light or something like it. We don't want to get the two confused. So what we're hoping is that some people will go through this program, and again, they'll feel like it's enough. And then people might go through this program, and in the work with their mentor, they might actually feel called to something more, and they might want to step into chaplaincy. And so this could lead to CPE, but it's not CPE, and it doesn't really count towards any CPE units at this point.
One thing that I also want to share with the group is that, in the last presentation we did one at earlier in the afternoon, somebody said that, if I incorporate this program into my diaconal formation program, the theology modules will be redundant. Yeah, maybe, but I got to share that we want to inspire our people. This is not just consuming information. We want to get them fired up for ministry, because as you know, that if you're doing what God called you to do, you could do it all day long and you never get tired. And so I think this program, especially the theology modules, they're inspiring. They have you tap into your faith in a deeper way. And so we developed it with that in mind, that it's not just boring theology. It's really cool stuff. And we hope that it inspires people to want to minister.
Any other questions? We have a handful of minutes left.
Victoria has her hand up again.
Yeah, I don't want to just raise my voice because
that's okay.
It's okay to raise my hand. So I saw you have. I love the way that you guys divide out your module and have what we focus, so that way we can have tailgate to the group that we need. There's one thing I saw on there, and I don't know how that worked, because I know that now the digital world, what we do now, presentation and sharing, because I worked on the COVID, and minister online is really hard. I try to be there with the patient and then with the family. Then the transitional time, near death experience or dying, is so hard. So I involved with communication, and I saw you have one module, I think, on communication. And do you incorporate in online technique or how to be more effective for online ministry? Because that's one of the areas that I definitely will have to sign up for.
Yeah. Well, we touch on communication methods, and we talk about which methods are appropriate for different generations, for different scenarios. We talk about privacy as it relates to, especially with digital communication. So we don't have specific ways that online ministry is effective. That is not in scope for this, but we do touch on methods of communication, and we want to make sure that the minister is using appropriate methods for the setting that they're in.
And
Okay.
So again, this is part of a larger institute. So within the institute, we've been growing it. So we've been doing webinars for years, and we've put a lot of those webinars in the institute. And we do have a handful of them that speak to technology, telechaplaincy, AI, because we know those are growing issues in the church, and we will continue to create webinars to put in the institute, but it's not directly part of this individual program. Anita, do you want to speak to hours
Yeah.
it will take?
Yes. So there's a couple of questions. So the question from Ted is, how long will the certification process take? Remember, this is not a certification, and because we certify chaplains for professional ministry, this is a certificate. So we think that the online portion will take 30 hours, approximately 30 hours, and then the mentored practicum would take 20 hours. Now, how long that'll take each individual will vary. We recommend to the student to complete their practicum within a 4-month period. But it just really depends, and there's no limit. You want to make sure that you're on a volunteer schedule that makes sense for you, that you can commit to. So we don't want it to drag out into infinity, because you're going to lose your momentum and you're going to forget what you learned. So we have a little module to an orientation for the student on how to prepare for their practicum. And we talk about all that in the orientation. That's our module 16. So again, like, how long does this program take with the practicum included? It'll take 50 hours, but that just depends on your pace. And so we did that intentionally, because some people have more time and some people have less time. How do you find places for ministry? So I would say, if you're working in I'm going to use you're as an example, Deacon Mike, and I don't know if you take this program or not, but like, you're working at an airport, I know, at Detroit Metro Airport. So, if you had someone that was going through this program, you could, encourage them to do their ministry at the airport. If it's a parish volunteer, I would go to the pastor or one of the, the lay leaders in the parish and say, can I do my mentorship with this Christian service organization, or can I do, so it's up to you, and your mentor will help you, like, brainstorm places where you can go. You can go to a local hospital or a hospice center. So there are opportunities that way.
And being sure that you find somebody that has a good supervisor on site that can walk you through.
So we've created not a contract, but an agreement that the student can take to the place of ministry that outlines what this practicum is. That it has a code of conduct on there that will ensure whoever the ministry supervisor is of the place where the practicum takes place, that the student has been trained to abide by institutional policies, etc. So we want to make sure that the place of ministry is comfortable accepting somebody from this program. So we've outlined what the program is and what they're agreeing to. They're not agreeing to mentor you. Your mentor mentors you, but they're agreeing to allow you to minister in that environment. So we've tried to think of everything. Hopefully we have, but we're just beginning. We're very excited, and we're flexible. So we're willing to make adjustments here and there to try to make it easier and seamless for everybody.
So we're at time, and I want to respect everybody's time tonight. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. We really appreciate it. We hope to see many of you and hear from you. And again, Anita and I are both available to take any questions that you might have after the call. And then again, we'll send this webinar to you if you want to review it again. And just thank you for letting us share our program with you. We're really proud of it. We're excited for it. And we hope it helps grow the church, and especially in the margins and in pastoral care. So grateful for all of you.